Welcome to Desert Heart. The first thing I'm going to do is go through the supplies. First will be the kit, and you have the option of buying that. If not, you have to supply all of the things that I'm showing you here. And so I'm using, your kit will have two beautiful hand-dyed variegated silk or sewn edge ribbons. It will have a ink pad that is a mixture of purple and opaque pink and a dauber and this wonderful stencil, and it's going to have the pre-cuts then it has your bag of beads, your little Shrinkets risers, your 6-pound fire line, and E6000, and your handmade sequin flower. And then last but not least, your kit will come with your medallion background metal already made for you. But the video that you'll be watching will show you how to make this. I'm just really saving you the step by putting it in the kit. And let's see, back to the kit. The kit is made with the opulent shrink plastic, and that's sold on my site, and then my pearl shrink plastic. The opulent comes in ivory, white, and translucent with glitter on it in silver and opal and gold. And the pearl comes with a pearl finish, and it's in shade like in pale pink, pale blue, and pale green. Okay, now the things that you need to supply. I'm using colored pencils for a bit of detail, and these are my shades, rusts and shades of purple. I'm just basically matching up things that go with the ribbon. And then I'm using this periwinkle blue fine tip Sharpie marker. It works better on the ivory shrink plastic. Then you're going to need wire cutters just for one tiny step, and a wire and a round nose plier for just tiny step, and fire line cutters for cutting your fire line, and a beading needle. I'm not showing it here, but a beading needle I use another 10. Then a heat gun for your shrink plastic, and the Shrinkets mold we're using in this is the pink bezel mold, and the hand forming bowl and the block. And the hand forming bowl and block are also sold on the website. All the tools are sold on the website. So let's get started. In this first video, we're going to start with coloring our beads. In the second clip, I'm going to show you how to make the base for this. If you purchase the kit, your base will be included, and that makes it really nice, but you will also have a template and stuff to make future ones on your own if you want to. So the stencil that I've included in the kit is this overall pattern piece with its starburst, and you have options with this. We're going to be using an ink and a dauber on it on our blue pearl shimmer shrink plastic, and you can come here and line up here and up here with you can pick a line and line up your design perfectly, knowing your center flower will be there. So if you want this lower, you can, or you can line it up abstractly and just let it be really random. Anyway is going to be fun. A line like this, I would recommend that you don't get it checked so that it doesn't come right here on the edge. Make sure if you do off center, check those edges, that you don't have some weird line doing something that you're not going to like. Right here is a nice random look, and I think I'm going to pick that. So you're going to be getting in your kit this custom mix. It's I've put violet on top of an opaque pink, transparent violet with an opaque pink. And so if you want more pink, go to an area on the stamp pad that's more pink. If you want more violet, go to an area where it's more violet, or you can mix the two. Always check on the side before stamping on your piece to make sure that it's not too oversaturated or undersaturated. And I'm going to be doing lighter in some areas and heavier in others. I'll peek under and see how that's coming. That's coming along very nicely. And if you have other colors in your ink collection, go ahead and use them. Let's see, maybe a little more there. There, really like that look. So away with that. And then I'm going to make sure that's cured. I always blot, make sure I get any extra pigment off. And there we go. I'm going to flip that over. And now I'm going to take, this is the color of my ribbon, so I've got my colored pencils out. And I also have a Sharpie in colors that I might consider using on this piece. My ribbon's edged in this rust color, so I think I'm going to edge my heart in that. I'm going to take and burnish off a section. There's a little bruise on my hand, and I've been doing lots of artwork, and my little fingers are all kind of beat up. So I'm going to burnish off an edge on my pencil, and I explained my fingers. I just apologize. I scrubbed them, and they still have stains on them. So just please ignore it. So we've got this nice edge, and I'm coming here and adding this with this broad tip on my pencil. There. And then I might come in with either my marker or my colored pencil and put little random dots around in these little starbursts. Just look like little scatterings and clusters. I'll cluster some together, kind of like constellations. It's nice in this area where I left the ink really light in order to do something like this. I'm going to sharpen another colored pencil. Get a nice tip on that. And then add some in this purple color. So you could have used either this or this, whatever you feel like or have that is in the color range that works for you. So randomness over this pattern. So I think that's enough. Set that aside. And now I've got my flower bead, and I'm going to come in and do the edges on this. If I want to get in there tighter, I'm just going to bend my piece so I can get in my little petals. I've noticed that the ivory shrink plastic sometimes is difficult to use colored pencils on. It has a kind of a slickness to the surface. It takes inks and markers and pastels, but colored pencils, it can be a little stubborn. And that's why I have this, the Sharpie marker, because if I want to add the little dots on this, tying this all together, kind of making them very much alike, so they might be part of the same thing, but yet just a wee bit different. Sometimes it's okay to not have heavy contrast, to just have, you know, just an overall easy on the eyes. I think I'll just buff a little in here. It's got a lot of the pink going on, and if I want to get some of that purpley, this color in here, it does have, our piece does have pinks in it. It just there doesn't look that much like it. Now on to our little leaves, and you've got 3 of them, and they're done in the pearl pink and the pearl blue. I come in here and do some tips on the blue. And I will be doing outlines on these to have them tie in with the heart. But the heart was done in blue, so I'm going to do the outline here on this pink pearl with the rust. And then come in here over the top of that, burnish that out. Kind of changes the color to more of a purple. Gives it a variegated look. Whoops, I'm on the shiny side. Must be applying too much pressure. Okay, bringing over another colored pencil in a different color. I'm coming down and doing veins in my leaves. So This is my collection of colors. I'm just gonna see if I can get any kind of this just at the tips of these flowers over the ink. I'm kind of rubbing in a rust color. The pencil is blending a little bit with the ink that's slightly damp, and kind of blending that together. And here I'm just gonna put lines on this, and what it's doing is it's wiping away the ink and doing kind of a relief effect. So that's kind of fun. Let's see. Doesn't change much with whatever color. It's just a scraping kind of technique. And I'm not even sure that's going to show because it's going to be part of behind some of the design. So we're ready to shrink. So I just washed my hands and got my ink off, and yes, they're still stained. They got really stained working on these pieces. Just the burnishing and whatnot. So we've got our hand forming bowl, and I'm going to heat my flat pieces in this. I'm going to start, I've got my wooden block out to press the heart flat. It doesn't matter what side is up on this. Evenly going around in circles, getting my container nice and heated up for the heart also. That helps it. Watching it carefully so that it doesn't touch any area and fuse. I'm going to flip it over. This is going to be a tough one because both sides are really pretty on this. And you have an option of using both sides. One has that beautiful pearlescent and the other is shiny and equally as pretty. So that's our piece. That's the shiny side and that's the pearl side. And as I said, both are really pretty. So we're going to set that aside, and then we're going to shrink our big background medallion. And this bent over. It didn't break. I'm going to see what happens. If it breaks off, I will use another piece. Sometimes the plastic will refuse together if the break isn't that bad. It doesn't so much fuse as much as the plastic gets sticky and hot and sticks together. So here, this shrunk down, and if I press that into place, it may hold. I am going to be stitching on that, so that's, might not be so good, but we'll see. I have a spare right here, over here. So let's look at what we have here. These are options. Or this. Okay, now we're going to be doing our flower. And I'm putting my design side up around my perimeter. keep my heat out to my perimeter. And down with my mold. 1001, 1002, 1003, 1004, 1005. And probably is not going to show in our design unless I choose to design it in a way that it does show. But the little scratching relief effect is very fun. So we have, these are our options right now. As I said, it's going to be a tough call on this. Now on to our leaf beads, and as always, always lose one. Always, always, always. So I'm gonna go looking for it. Of course, it had fallen on the floor. So I'm gonna do each one in the bowl, and I'm gonna be using my hands to form these, and this is something where you might want to use your gloves. And when you form them, you have to decide which is going to be the, excuse me, a little hiccup, top or the bottom. So I'm pushing, I'm going to make the sparkly show, and I want one flat in. So push that up. And do a second one. I'm going to also have the sparkle up. I kind of twist and push up, just kind of rumple it a bit. And then this one, I'm going to have it the shiny side. So just a little bit of a ripple there. So my shrinking is done, and now I'm ready to assemble. So we're going to shrink our little risers. They just get shrunk flat. There's 3 of them. Flip him out and make sure that he's flat, and do these other 2 the same way. So we'll have 3. We're ready to start adding our little decorative beads to the perimeter of our back medallion. And I've taken a yard of fire line, this is 6 pounds, and I added a little, another 11 seed bead, and I double tied a knot on it. So it's going to be my stopper bead, and then I strung my needle on with a tail. Okay, and I'm going to start up in this corner, and that little bead will be my stopper. I'm putting my cylinder bead on, and then I'm adding an 11 ivory bead, and bypassing the ivory bead and coming down back through my hole. Then I'm coming on over here to this hole, putting on my cylinder. I'm going to do a crisscross action. I'm going to bypass that bead, come on down. Oops, I must have not bypassed properly. bypass that white bead and pull tight. Then I'm going to come over here to the back, and I crossed over to the other side, and I'm putting on, I'm trying to avoid having to tie off each little bead. So I've got a little stitching plan here. And that's what I'm showcasing. Then I come down to this one. Bypass. I'm going to be doing crisscrossing, because if I come across here at these points, the string may show. So I'm crisscrossing. Crisscrossing, pulling my bead line tight. Pulling my bead tight, my line tight. And then I'm down here to my last one, and and this is where it was broken. We're going to see if it holds, and I'm checking to see if I go there, will the line show, and it looks like it won't. So I lucked out. I'm going to be careful. You shouldn't have to be as careful when you pull that snug, because that had broken. Now I'm going to follow my bead path back, going back up through everything until I get to my start point. I'm just following where I had been, and this tightens everything. So that's what I want you to do. Okay. So I'm at the end, and I'm just gonna, I came through the back where my stopper bead was, and I'm just tying my two tails together. I'm doing a couple of knots here. One of them will be a surgeon's knot. Here it goes. Around and around, and then I can cut my line. And that decorative little part is done. And now we're gonna go and attach our flower. I've done the same thing. I've got a shorter line, just using my leftover thread, and I tied a stopper bead on. This happens to be a little purple one, pinky purple, iridescent, double tied it on. Your piece is going to have 2 holes on it, so that you have options of where you want to place your flower. I'm going to be putting it in the top hole, in the lower hole right here, not the top one. And so it will rest right there. And I think that's where I want it. Maybe not. I'm going to see what it looks like up there. Come through. I'm going to put this piece on. And that's when I'm gonna take a little, if it comes out, a little E6000. You will have a little thing. You will not have this mess that I have right here. Okay. And I'm gonna get in there, bring out a little E6000, just a smidgen, and get it around that. That's just gonna help hold this guy from slipping all over. Little handmade sequin. Then I'm putting this guy on, and where did it go? Oh, there it is. I've got the wrong flower on. I made 2 of these. This is the earlier one. This is the one we showcased. Put that on, and then this guy, which covers up my cute little drawings back there, and then this guy, and a little tiny white, where do you go? Seed bead on there, and that may be a little too small. I may want a bigger statement. So I will put one of the pearl ones on and see how that looks. Those were 15s. I think maybe an 11 will look better, or I have to decide with, I like that, but I'm gonna try one more option. That's why I put different things in your kits. Yeah, I like how that picks up the handmade sequin. These handmade sequins are made with cricket style, really thin, no sticky backing, iridescent paper, and using my Sizzix and Stamen punches. So I came through the back. I'm gonna go through my stopper bead, and I'm gonna come back up through my bead path here so that that's really on nice and secure. It is funny how I have all this laid out, and I think I'm gonna do it when I start my video if I don't have a prototype done yet. I didn't have a prototype done for this. I had it kind of laid out in how I wanted it to be. So I'm lining this guy up and this guy, but it's funny how I change my mind once I get it all really tightly stacked. So we're tying this off. It just looks a little different than when it's just laid out on the table. 3 knots on this. And as you can see, this is the shiny side, that is the back, and it's so pretty too. But I chose to do the iridescent. So I had my 3 knots on there, the iridescent on the front. I just like the soft look of that. And that's my piece, and those will be little risers on there so that the little beads there won't get in the way. Okay, on to the next portion. So here we have our beautiful ribbon. You have 2 strands of it, and come up here, go through the top. This is your top, and you folded it over, put a loop through there, and then pull that. And then do the same with the second one. Come through here. Your loop. Take your two tails through here and pull. And then this you tie around your neck. Okay. So we have our pieces ready to glue on. So I'm ready to assemble, and this part gets glued on. My prototype doesn't have one, but you do have holes that all align if you wanted to attach this with stringing line the same way we attach this. You would just run it through and put it through on the back side. But I know that the metal can be rough even on fire line and could break it if we relied on that. So at this point, I'm using the glue option. I try to stitch in places as often in a traditional way when I can, but in this case, this gluing is our very best. And glues are so great these days that they hold up for the life of a piece of jewelry, like, a decorative piece of jewelry like this. It's not like this is a Tiffany heirloom. Anyhow, so what I'm going to do first is take my glunk of E6000 glue and spread it right here on the back of this. And this is my first riser. Now these guys get double stacked. That's why there's two of them. Okay, so they're sandwiched together. Bringing that up in here. I put it down there. I guess I thought for a minute I was using my hole, but I'm going to center that. Okay. And then it floats right here. And I am going to double check and see if one riser will do. I put two in there because of the metal. I didn't know if that would get in the way, so I only need the one riser. Now that allows me to use the second riser right here. And now, let that cure while I talk about this. This is your little head pin, and this is what I stacked on it. I've got ink on my hand. My hands just have all sorts of art material on them. So I've got the little pinch bead, little O-rings, a sequin, a little seed bead, and then the really itty-bitty seed beads. And I may not need all of those, but I've stacked those on, so little ivory and little blue seed beads. And where those are gonna go, I'm gonna straighten this out. It's bowed right now. It's gonna be right in this area. It's gonna be placed right here along with my leaves. So I don't need that many little beads on there, I don't think. It's gonna be hidden behind there. And I'm gonna take and do just a little loop back here. Do any kind of little loop that makes you comfortable. Just to, I think I'll just take my loop and wrap my tail around there. So I just did a little loop. This isn't going to show. This is to create something for it to glue on and to keep my stack from sliding. Now I'm going to take my poor abused E6000 and squirt out some more. And I'm putting a nice amount right here. You won't have this mess that I have because you'll have nice new tubes in your kit if you bought the kit. If you didn't and you're making this just by watching this video or something like it, you might have glunk like I have. Okay. Now, I'm going to utilize the shiny on this because I used matte there, and then I'm going to use the matte frosted there. I want these to look like leaves. I don't want them perfect. It's okay if they're rumpled up. Then I'm going to put E6000 on that and stick it right in there. And I'm going to have to move these guys apart. Put it right there. And this is where I am going to have to use the second riser on this. I want these to tilt forward when I put this guy, sandwich this guy down on it. This is what's going to happen. I'm going to pull this guy forward more. And then getting some glue right there and right there. So it's behind, my risers and stuff are behind my flower, or the glue would show. So make sure you're up high like that on your bead. And I think I'm gonna need to reshape this. It's just too funky, so just drop it in there, heat it up. I really like the shape, but it's not working. Get him out and shape him. There, that's better. Okay. Got to make sure he's got glue on him. So there I am. Glue back behind that. And then everything gets lined up and pressed into place. And we're going to let that cure. And this little piece has, to me, it's a very deserty piece. Kind of think Grand Canyon with some snow on it, with these beautiful colors. And I want to thank you for joining me. The first thing I'm going to show you on making the base for this metal heart pendant with its wire wrapped, what I call paper clip hangers, is to use 14 gauge solid brass wire, and I got this from Parawire. And I'm going to cut a 10-inch, about a 10-inch length. So I already, a 12-inch length. I already cut one. And now these lines are my template, and it's got 2 matching spirals at the top. So how I'm going to make the spiral is I take the tip of my chain nose pliers, and I grab this very firmly here in my hand, and I just, I turn my hand this way while I walk this hand around in this direction. So see how I'm turning both of them? And if you use, see how I was able to know where to stop for that gap by my nose on my pliers? If I just keep moving that around, I will make sure that I have a nice spiral if you have a tendency to wrap too tightly and make these two lines touch. So now I'm going to grab it with my thumb, and I'm going to walk it the rest of the way, okay? Now if it needs any adjusting, I simply push here and bring up, walk it up. Okay, so now look where I am. Got my nice spiral. Now I'm going to hold this down firmly and bend this way, and then I can lift it up a little bit, hold this firmly, take my thumb, bringing my thumb and pulling this towards me. This action. So I've created that line. Then I want it to follow that exactly, so I bend it out this way. And now I'm at another wire wrap. So it starts about right here. So I've got that kind of marked for that bottom loop. See, I wanted to make that loop. And then I have to guesstimate this. So I'm going to guesstimate that at about right there. Now, this where it comes, straightens this out. Where it comes right here and this piece matches, this line needs to be pretty true to the pattern. This loop can be bigger if you cut this length bigger. So, but this little nice, where this line here, that's nice to have that pretty true to the line. So I'm going to pick this up, and I'm going to grab the tip, because I have all these lines created. I'm going to grab the tip, and I'm holding this firmly, and I'm walking this around. Notice I'm doing this. There. See? Now it's a little too tight, meaning it needs to come back down. So all I have to do is walk these guys. When I say walk, show you it's right there, and I turn my hand like that when I'm holding it. So I can go way like that or like that. So I have my first one done. Now let's do our second. We're going to start the second the same way. We've got a spiral, and these don't have to be perfectly identical. They just, we want them to be about this width and about this wide. So we're grabbing this, doing it the same way, turning this way, and holding this very firmly while I walk it around using my little cheat. get to a point where it's a little too big for me. Go really slow, and then, you know, we can hold it and bring that up that way. So I'm coming here, bending this way, held this firmly, and then I pulled it this way. And then this time I'm bringing my index finger and using it to come around. I need that a little broader, so I'm pulling there. Broader meaning deeper that way, a longer shape that way. And then here, this curve, I can use my thumb because it's a shape like this. And I bring it around like so. I'm holding firm here and pushing here. And then I'm going to guesstimate to cut about right there. And I will be curling this. So I'm grabbing it right here, holding this firmly, torquing this way. There. Now if I want this tighter in there, this little tail in there tighter, I can grab these two and squeeze. See how I've got that a little tighter? And then I can nip that off if I want. See how that created that nice little spiral? I can do that over on this one too. Just get that little tip away from my line, and it creates more of a pretty spiral. So we have this side and we have this side, and I can open this up a little more if I want to have it exact. And every time I bend something, it bends it elsewhere. So when I did that, I had to do some adjustments. So here I am. I'm pretty close, and now we're going to hammer this and flatten it. And when we hammer it, it anneals, it hardens the metal. Annealing it is when the metal is heated up to a high temperature, not that you burn it, but that you warm up the molecules in the metal, and it becomes pliable because the molecules in the metal spread apart and they're loosey-goosey. And when you hammer it, all those molecules jump together and it all tightens up, just like your body. If it's cold, it's real stiff, and that hardens the metal. And so hammering it will make it harder. So if we probably always have to do adjustments after we hammer it, but it'll be a little more difficult than it was when it was nice and soft. So this is my anvil. It's my carport floor. And yes, I do squats to strengthen my thighs and my knees so I can get down and do this, because I do not have an anvil. So I'm using a regular hammer, and I'm gonna let the hammer do the work, meaning that I'm way down here and I'm going to hit these really hard, not really hard, but you can see how I'm tapping this with my regular hammer, flipping it over, going slow, getting that nice hammered look. See, make sure I got all my elements. And then the second one. And as I said, this will spread out my metal, so I'll have to do some adjustments. I bring up my hammer about 8 to 10 inches away from it. When I come down, and as I said, I'm letting the hammer do the work. I'm not way up here with it. That's making my wrist do the work. Okay, that's hammering. I'm back inside to see how much things stretched out. Looking to see which side is which. Here is this side, and it didn't stretch out too badly on me. Little tightening there, hard to do. And then I'm going to move this one over and see where I stretched out here. And I did a little bit right there. And these intertwine with each other. So you do want to make sure you got things pretty flat there. So you want to make sure everything's flattened all over. So now we're on to cutting our heart. I cut our metal heart template out of paper. I'm going to show you how to make a heart template. Take a piece of paper, I folded it over. Draw one side. Cut it out, open it up, you've got a heart. Okay, that was pretty easy. Now we're going to take our template, and this is bronze. And I also got this at Parawire. This is 24 gauge, raw bronze. And I'm going to take a Sharpie marker, and I'm marking my outline around here. Now that was not premium, so I'm going to do that again, show you the smart way to do it. Right here. That allows me to not have to cut that side. Now, if you have a really good pair of titanium scissors, and your metal hasn't been hammered yet and hasn't hardened, you can cut with titanium scissors, or you can buy fancy metal cutting shears. I'm going to use these. I lost some of my mark there. This will peel right off, and the marker will come off with burnishing with steel wool or with hairspray. So I'm cutting just like scissors, using these just like a scissor. This works on 24 gauge. It's rather tough when you start getting into your 22 gauges and thicker. The bigger the number on the gauge, the thinner the metal. So I kind of cut at this piece. Cut my waist away, and then I'm coming in here at this angle. Cut that, and then cutting and I'll flip it over, see if I've got any areas that are not perfect. And there's my shape, and yes, it's very, very sharp. So I'm peeling off that protective plastic, and there I have my shape. This is going to be hammered, and I'm going to use steel wool on it to soften the edges, or a metal file to work. A metal file will be faster. To show you that. And with a file, you always go in one direction. You don't go up and down. I'm at a beveled edge. Important thing I forgot to tell you that this is a metal hole punch. Now, this is made by Bead Smith. Also show they come in different size millimeters. And I use the 1.5. It may take just a little bit longer, but both being steel material. I feel it. And then I really want to soften that edge. Both sides of that, I'm coming, or I flipped it over think I flipped, I don't know if I flipped it over. I'm going around it again. I will be hammering this out and then burnishing it and then filing it again. I flipped it over. Now, I'm doing more of the edge itself, meaning this. Remember, only one direction with your file. Don't saw it. You can feel that that's pretty rough. And that's enough for now. I'm going to hammer it. Here I'm out on my garage carport floor anvil. I'm using the same technique, not choking my hammer, holding it at the end, hammering a swing of about 12 inches all over. I'm especially doing the edges. I'm gonna flip it over. Distressing my edges. Back over again. Flip it over. And I'm done, and I got some nice texture from the concrete. We're back inside, and this time I'm going to use the steel wool. If you don't have a metal file, you could have used the steel wool in the first step. I'm just here to show you your options. You can go back and forth on this one. This gives it a real buttery, soft finish. No matter what, it is always good to have the steel wool for a finish, even if you start out with the metal file. The two are just nice things to have in a metal studio. I'm just making sure. I will be burnishing that again, but this is just really buttery soft now. There's a little nick right there. Buttery soft. I want that really soft too. So I've got a really nice piece. And now I'm ready to put what I call my paper clip pieces on. I'm doing it paper clip style. So we're ready to do what I call my paper clip style hanger. And we can put this side on first. And it's pretty easy. Just pretend that's a paper clip. Bring that along there. We'll make some adjustments if we need to. If I need to bring this right along that line, I can. Okay, see how that came along on that line? And now we're going to do this side. And let's see, same way. And if I need to tighten, I think I need to tighten this line. Bring that up, tighten, tighten, tighten. Notice how I tightened like this, and I bring up my paper clip design, and see this in the back. I'm coming over here in the back, and I'm going to bring this around here, okay? Then I'm going to start to make my adjustments. I don't want this line, that's my choice, so I'm making my adjustments by holding this here and doing a little bending. There. Bring that out if I want to. Then I'm adjusting up here. Keep playing with my adjustments. There's going to be one last step to get this all firm. I think I would like to curl this in a little more. There, you can see that, okay, this is coming down a little more. See this? So I can either tighten this and then bring this one down a little so that they match. So I can get them to match pretty well. Okay, so there I am, and I'm gonna go one last time out and hammer. Hammering, same way. This time just to kind of set things in place. I want this guy out a little bit. Whoops. What happens when I do this is I'm bending it a little concaves into the metal. Whoops, I kind of moved it off the picture plane. And that gets it holding pretty firmly. I'll do a little more tightening and I'll be set. Thought I was going to do a little more hammering. It doesn't need it. I thought maybe it needed a few little tweaks there, and it doesn't. If yours needs a little tweaks, you just carefully tweak them. Now we're going to see how snug it is in here. And the snugness happens when you get this kind of, you don't have, you have these pretty flat. So on this one here, I want to make sure that this is really flat. And how I do that is pressed up against the middle, I bring it out and push it down so that it lays really flat on that. Now, hammering it is a way of doing it, but when you hammer it, if you wanted to hammer that flat, every time you hit this area is going to bounce up. So I recommend more of this torquing action that I do with this. Okay? And you know, your curls can be, can help you, guide you, like this here could go this way and then up there. See how I brought that under? It doesn't, that's really cute too. So make your what you need it to do be part of your design. So on this one, I'm going to be pressing this down. Whoops, I pressed the wrong way. I press it up. It's like backing up a car, okay? So I'm going to take this off and carefully bend it up like this so that when I put this back in, it's just really tight on there. Yeah, there. Same with this. I can take this off and press it up like that. Then when I bring this back down and press this both ways, that's really tight on there. This is really tight on here. So if I want this to, just make any adjustments that you think it needs. This one here, I notice how I pushed that way a little bit. I can have that come over my tip. Just make it do, I'd like a little of that to show. So, show on both sides. There, look at that. See? I bring that down a little bit. So adjust as needed. There's our piece, and then I lost that a little bit when I did that, so I'm gonna bring that out, squeeze those in. There, bring this in. Tightening that a little bit so that curl does a little more of what I want it to do. There. So I've got a little of this peeking out. I'm tweaking that a little bit. So where I need it to go. Right there. Down. It's a little back, lots of back and forth. I had that. There. I'm really liking that. Okay, so it does come out a little different. There's my drawing. It's a little different. Each one has a little bit of its unique personality. So there we go. Now, the next thing we're going to do, we can, just real quickly, you can also tweak your metal if you need to get your metal to bend in the direction that you need. Your, like bending like this, stuff will tighten it, okay? Bending back and forth like that will tighten it. Okay, so now we have two choices. If we want to darken it, we can use a metal darkening solution. And the one that I choose to use is, you can use liver of sulfur. The one I'm going to showcase is Novacom. This has heavy metals in it. So wear gloves with it, or just plan on not touching the metal and have a rinse bucket for it, and then dispose of that properly. So this can be bought at stained glass window supply stores, and liver of sulfur can be bought at metal smithing stores. I dropped some on there, yikes. The lid wasn't quite on, so I'll have to dispose of that carefully. I'm putting that in a safe spot and rinsing whatever drops landed on my hand off of that. Okay, I've got my rinse bucket. And my patina solution. Doesn't take very much. I am not going to be touching this. I'm going to be using a stick to put it in, and then dropping it right in. You can use tongs or gloves. I'm going to be doing this. See how it's darkening? And I flip it over, make sure both sides are getting the amount that I need. I am not touching this. This is absorbed through the skin. You know, I don't recommend breathing it a lot, but it's the skin that metals are absorbed into. So picking it up without touching it, disposing of this properly. This didn't get too dark. I probably am going to pour it back into my jar. Now I'm rinsing that off. That's now created a nice safety for it. It's now safe to handle. And I'm drying it. and then I'm going to burnish it. I'm ready to burnish. You can take off as much as you want or as little as you want. Patinas often will bring out the coppers in metals, and that's why sometimes you can take your bronze and you can go, well, why is it copper now? Well, that's because the heavy metals can make well, not the heavy metals, the solution, everything about it, can make the copper come to the surface that's in metals. Metals are not pure, only gold is pure. Take it off till you can't, to where you want it. And since this is wiggling a little bit, my design is going to need an adjustment. So I'm going to tighten this a little bit. And then I'm going to bring this up over that. Remember, we're designing paperclip style. So the theory is, how does it work on paper? How do paper clips work? That got itself a pretty there we go. It got itself pretty firm. So I need to clean up around that. This is the front of my piece. Cleaning up more on the back, keeping things in the shadows. I think I like that. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to spray seal it. So any sealer will work. I'm going to use Rust-Oleum's Painter's Touch. It's a matte clear. It protects and seals and rejuvenates. It's for metal, wood, plastic, and more. I'm going to hold this about 12 inches away, and I'm going to spray both sides. And I'm going to do this outside because I don't want the vapors to come up and get on my camera lens and ruin this. So ruin my camera or make me have to, it won't ruin it. I would just have to take paint thinner and wipe off my lens, and I don't want to do that. So the reason we're sealing it is the Novacon, or the liver of sulfur, accelerates oxidation. Oxidation is when the dirt in the metals comes to the surface, and it's called tarnish. So we're accelerating tarnish. Now, if we didn't seal it, this would be in the air and it would turn black again. And we want to seal in the patina that we've created, the burnished look. So that's why we are spraying. I told you not to overall hammer again. Just spot hammer if you need to. Once you get it all curled, there is one little hammering trick you can do if you have some loose spots, and that's to just hammer here, here, and here where you have your connections. So if I hammer this area and this area and this area, I can flip them over and do the same, that I'm not creating that overall, you want to bend that, ripple effect that would just, if I'm hammering the whole thing, that would just push my irregularities into another direction. So just spot hammer if you need to. Using a beadsmith metal hole punch, I punched a hole in the hearts for an optional attachment. We are not going to be using this in the class, but this shows you that option.